Welcome to another episode of You Already Know. Today we're going to talk about grace, and I'm not entirely sure what that'll entail, so we'll find out together. Let's see, where do we want to start? Let's start with 4 deep breaths. And as you breathe, you can ask your mind, good morning everybody, to gently, ever so gently, put down what you don't need for at least the next 15 minutes. That's 2. You might also invite, that's 3, any clarity, perspective, or insight that might be helpful for your next step. That's 4. Good morning. Hey. All right, so grace. When I talk about grace, basically what I mean is good morning. Hey. It's kind of like, let's see, when I say grace, what do I mean? The first word that comes to me is hope. And what's after that? It's kind of like functional hope, where I am recognizing my fallibility and I am accepting of God's greatness. And before I started live broadcasting again, I did a few segments in my Instagram story about what I mean when I use the word God. And just, do I need to say that? No, it feels like I can, no, okay. When I say God, basically what I mean is life. And I mean all that is, total field of consciousness, the universe, spirit. And what's interesting about all of those ideas is that in being included in them, being under their umbrella, you can't see them, really. Can you see the top of the umbrella when you're under it? I think that it's helpful then to accept that there is, let's say, like there's somewhere, I'm seeing kind of like a narrow path to walk. Oh, that's interesting. That ties to something I was reading this morning. To accept that while you know, you might not necessarily be able to know why you know or know how you know. And that's okay. I find that there can be hesitation, there was for myself and with clients, in standing in that ambiguity. You're not confident that you're right. You're not confident your knowing is complete. And man, that's life. You just can't be. And that's okay. And so grace to me, let's see, is some level of accepting that I am a part of all that is. And as such, my well-being befits or benefits all that is. And wouldn't it be silly to pinch myself off in such a way that then compromise the whole? And that's to say kind of like, a sick cell in the body. It's not good for the body. And I think that, the other day I was talking about paradoxes and the paradox of surrender, where you hold on and let go. And I think that applies here too with grace and forgiveness, where you want to acknowledge essentially and accept and own really where you have been wrong. And I find that wrong action stems from wrong thinking, and wrong thinking is generally trained. And so, our thinking is really an expression of the whole and not necessarily our personal fallibilities, which makes it a little easier to accept, right? I have a pinned reel on my profile called We Responsibility, and it's basically saying look, you didn't come up with a thinking that's screwy, but you're living it out, and as such, it's your responsibility on behalf of the whole to tidy her up. So in looking at grace or accepting grace, to me it's sort of that same paradox, where on one you have to accept and own your responsibility, and at the same time let it, and not necessarily its wrongness, but let's say that it's girl, you out there, can we someday we have yet to do our dual video. I'm talking about grace today. which is also my youngest sister's name and the name of one of my guardian angels. Okay, so grace is basically accepting and ownership. It's allowing yourself to see and own your behavior. And if you can't see it exactly, for example, you might back into the idea that you must have wrong behavior or wrong thinking by the results that you're generating. And so you might not necessarily know what you're doing or thinking wrong, but you can kind of surmise that you must not be thinking right. So there's that acceptance, that awareness, allowing yourself to see. And grace to me is sort of saying like, okay, like allow life to work through you. I was saying earlier that the health of the cell is good for the health of the body. As part of all that is, as an expression of God, as a divine aspect, wouldn't it be good for everything if like it was good for you? You know what I'm saying? So grace in some ways to me is recognizing that relationship and being humble enough to accept the forgiveness and like not necessarily a second chance, but let's say like the support to move forward in a more holistic and supported way. There's so much forgiveness. I can kind of feel it right now and moving backwards, like through my body, kind of like back into time. And maybe that's something I can give you too. Oof. Oof. So right now, what we're allowing is that, you don't have to, for God's sakes, never believe me, do your own work. But right now, what I'm offering is essentially forgiveness for all that which is behind you. I'm just going to put it up on the table and you can take from it, like it's kind of like a bowl at a picnic. Have some, don't have some. It's up to you, baby. It's up to you. So grace to me, in some ways, I called it, I think earlier, functional hope. And it's basically the potential that things can improve from here. And again, it's not selfish to want things to be good for you, because if they're good for you, they're good for others. And sure, there is a spectrum there, or again, like a paradox, like, is it good for you to have ice cream? I don't know. On maybe momentarily there's value to it. Maybe in a small amount there's value to it. But maybe, on a larger, from a more zoomed out vantage point, not. So it's really allowing yourself to kind of put aside all of the value judgments, what's good or bad, and really look at like for correctness for the moment, which to me is kind of like harmony. And so grace, okay, let's see where I want to go now. That's it. That's all I got for today. And it feels like to offer something else. What am I going to offer? Joy. Oh, okay. It's so cute. Foreshadowing. I can't tell you how often things come to me before they go for me, and it's the coolest. I'm so grateful for having a relationship with, I guess, the divine or non-physical experience. What a cool adventure. What a cool experience. Like, so thankful. It feels like to ask you to pull from your heart a vision that you can polish throughout the day. So something that would be meaningful and inspiring to you, something that lifts you. So one way to think about that is, let's say there's something you really want to do, and you can't do it till you do all your chores. What makes you hurry up and want to do your chores so you can go do the thing? Like, kind of that feeling of being in love where it's like, ooh, I'm gonna do that. Like, it's like you get that little pep in your step. And while that can be inspired by external things and hot little honey buns, it's also something you can reach for or allow interiorly in some ways, shapes, and forms. And the broadcast I did the other day was basically saying, like, hey, give yourself permission to go there. Like, what if you let yourself feel good now before you do all the things? Like, what if you let yourself feel good now? And that's essentially what I'm saying here too. Anything else? Yes, I work with clients one-to-one. applying the ways and rhythms of consciousness. So basically clarifying thinking, removing beliefs that aren't serving the person, helping them come to hear, see, and feel their own self. We do a lot of like mind clarification. We'll kind of dump stuff out, sort it, and help you kind of clarify what it is that's most important to you and how you want to develop habits, mental, emotional, and physical habits to support those things. I also do healing work and just general like breakthrough facilitation, where my spirit will suggest different images, words, etc., and I'll create a document for us to work in together, and you'll see real time kind of like these ideas illustrated, and as you see them different, you will think differently, and then your behavior changes. I am also selling art by incredible artists from New Orleans and beyond. If you're interested, I can get you a curated deck of options for any budget. I'm also interested in murals, commissions, and any other art projects you might come across, so just holler at your girl. And anything else? No, that's it. Have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for coming out and for your support. These videos are being pushed out to youtube.com/@ShayleeEdwards, and they'll also be on IGTV. Help a sister out with the algorithms, comment, like, subscribe, share, save, and that's it. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments or send me a message.